Jake here with Action for Liberty. Welcome back to our show where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. We have a really interesting news flash for you. Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, tyrant wannabe, is losing to Scott Jensen, according to the most recent poll. Here to break down this poll and more news is none other than our own MAGA Jesse. How you doing, MAGA Jesse?
Oh, I am doing good, Jake. It is good to be here. Good to talk with you. And there's some interesting things going on here in Minnesota, and this is my favorite time of year. I mean, it's debate season. I'm going all out throughout the entire country. Everything that is going on is fun. It's exciting. So good to break it down with you guys here today.
I don't think there's anything more interesting in Minnesota than that mustache you're trying to grow on top of that mouth. I don't know what's going on there, but we'll roll with the punches. Also, reading your comments like usual is Bridget, although instead of being in that dark red room with Dawson, she's here in studio. How you doing there, Bridget?
I'm good. I like the dark red room, though.
Yeah, well, we need you under the lights. There's the dark red room with Dawson nodding his head. He's in there alone. Make his job easy. Make Bridget's job hard by commenting. Please go ahead and comment where you're watching from. We'd love to know. Are you from northern Minnesota, southern Minnesota? Are you from Rocks and Cows territory? Let us know about that, or maybe you're in the suburbs. So let's get right into this. Let's pull up this Alpha News poll. This has got Dawson. I feel like the light is crazy here on my right side. Is that am I going insane here? That's in my head. Did you just hear that? He said,
yeah, that's right.
I'm hearing things now. Let's go ahead and bring this poll up here. This is Alpha News, who's commissioned a poll with Trafalgar Group, which has an A rating, I believe, from 538. So they're a reputable poll. Although they lean right. Did you know that there, MAGA Jesse? They lean right.
Yep. And, obviously that's what all the leftists say on Twitter. They say, oh, Trafalgar, we can't believe any of this. This is just a right-wing thing to try to push momentum. But when we see the polls that the left puts out, it's obvious that we need to center this thing out so that we can get a real understanding of what this is going to look like.
Not a better point has been made. We do need to even things out. So, yes, if they lean a little right, it's going to balance the ones that lean more to the left, right? Mm-hmm. Why don't you scroll down there, Dawson? And this is a poll that was conducted just this week. So that would be Monday through Wednesday. Over 1,000 respondents, which is better than the USA survey polls that are just way outliers that say, well, Tim Walz has got – well, actually, even if you go to the KSTB USA survey results, they even, showed that Jensen was trending – he cut the lead in half or what's the word I'm looking – way to phrase this. Walz's lead got cut in half. Mm-hmm. So even they are showing momentum, but they're way outlier. The margin of error on this poll is 2.9%. So let's look. Let's just skip the Biden approval because really nothing's changed. Biden's just not that popular. Of course he's not that popular. Yep. But when we get to the Minnesota governor's race, Scott Jensen is leading Tim Walz for the first time. The first poll that shows it 46.3% to 45.8% with 3.9% undecided. Now, my thought, Jesse, is that the undecideds will probably break third party in this race.
Right. Yep. A lot of people that are undecided, it's because they're undecided because they're unhappy with the direction of our state, and they're still trying to figure out which is the right person to go with. So some of those people might choose to go third party. Some of those people might choose to go for Scott Jensen. Some of those people may choose to not vote at all. So a lot of those times, though, we do see that those undecideds will not be going to the benefit of the incumbent.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And obviously, you'll see in this race, I would allege is going to break to the non-incumbent. This is a non-incumbent year for many regards, and certainly not a Democrat year. So they're really going to break not for the incumbent Democrat, but this is likely voters. So there's a chance these guys don't actually go out and vote. Mm-hmm. So this is good news. Now that's still in the margin of error. So really, the headline to give hope to Team Anti-Walz is to say that he's losing, which is how they would accurately portray a poll that showed him up on the margin of error. But really, this thing is neck and neck. That's the way I read it. Is that the way you read it?
That's what I'm seeing too. It's within the margin of error. That means that, like you said, Walz, he would take any poll that shows him on top and say, I'm winning. And Jensen, he's going to do the same thing. That's just what any politician is going to do. But this is showing that it's going to be a lot closer than Walz would like. And one thing I want to point out to the Jensen supporters, don't get comfortable with this. Don't get comfortable seeing that these results are coming in, because if you get comfortable, you're going to lose. This is going to be extremely close. You can't stop putting in the work. You have to be putting in all of the effort. You have to be strong. You can't be a weak candidate, and people need to continue to do what they're doing because it's obviously going to be a very close election here.
Now, to us, it's not surprising. We did a state fair booth. Our Dump Walz booth was really popular. So when we saw polls coming out that say Tim Walz is leading by like huge margins, like, yeah, right.
Right. Wasn't it 17 points that they said that he was leading in that one poll?
No one believes that poll. That poll is so utterly ridiculous. And we can go, I think we did cover why we thought that was wrong. Now, what's really interesting to note there, Jesse, is coming out of the state fair, Jensen keeps surging. Have you noticed? Okay.
Right. Well, I mean, there might be some correlation to that. There was a lot of people at the state fair. We were getting a lot of attention. Lots of people were stopping over, talking to us, even non-political type people. So it doesn't surprise me that he has some momentum following the state fair.
I know, but to give us too much credit, we would have to see that bump right after the state fair.
Yep.
Although maybe they're just like, damn it, I remember that Action for Liberty Dump Walz booth. Man, that really makes a lot of sense to me now.
Mm-hmm.
It finally hit me. What do you got something to say, Bridget?
No, I was just laughing.
By the way, Bridget was the one that actually planned the state fair booth. So she was the project manager on that, did a hell of a good job.
It was a fun time.
It was a fun time. All right, let's go back to that poll because this is interesting. So, yeah, neck and neck. Love your point, Jesse. Don't get comfortable, but at the same point, remain strong. There's 3 weeks left. This one's fascinating. And I think a lot of people, the insiders know this, Democrat insiders. So Jim Schultz, newcomer to politics, is ahead of Keith Ellison by 5 points with 4.5% undecided. Let's look at that 4.5% undecided, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see those breaking at all for Keith Ellison?
Not very many, because I think that maybe some of the reason some people are undecided, they don't know Jim Schultz. And another big thing that is going on is the Feeding Our Future scam. That's a big thing that lays right on Ellison's lap and shows that he didn't do the right thing. So there's a reason that his poll numbers are slipping. People are seeing, he helped cover up this fraud just like Tim Walz too. So the stories and the news is not in their favor. So it makes sense why things are shifting, and those undecideds aren't going to be going Ellison when the time comes.
That's right. Yeah, I know, Ken. And I think probably the Democrats know this, that Ellison's a dead man walking at this point, which is really fascinating.
I wouldn't say that necessarily. I mean, this guy is connected. This guy was the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. I mean, this guy, he was almost the chair of the Democratic National Committee. He has the money. The Democrats are not afraid to pour in money for Ellison.
Yeah, they did in 2018, though. But you got to remember this, and you weren't here in 2018. Mm-hmm. Ellison got like this, I think it was the AG group, the DFL, or the Democrat AG coalition, whatever the hell they call themselves. Both Republicans and Democrats have these things for governors and stuff. And they looked at the numbers and said, we can pull this off with Keith Ellison. I think they dumped in $1 million. Plus, you had the Pioneer Press, this hit job on Doug Wardlow in 2018. Said he was bullying some gay guy in high school. It's a ridiculous hit piece on him by the Pioneer Press. Right now, they're looking at this race, or they're looking at Minnesota. They go, oh, my God, our governor candidate, like one of the guys, he was a follower. He did everything we said, shut down the economy, locked people in their homes. He even, when we told him to put COVID patients in nursing homes, you know this, right? Like that was something that
the National Democratic Governors Association, they were all behind that. Every single one of those Democratic governors, they were all working together, having these meetings, discussing what kind of things they can do, and they all wanted to be on the exact same page. They didn't want a differing message from Democrats, so they all decided to become tyrants.
That's exactly why this happened in many different states. It seems like Andrew Cuomo was the only one that got any shit for it.
Right.
When this happened in Minnesota, Tim Walz,
they were all doing
patients in nursing homes. We knew early on that this thing was a disease that was actually killing old people. It wasn't killing young people. My God, we could even do a show on the CDC now recommending COVID vaccines for
children. Yep, it's disgusting what they're trying to do. And, these are unproven, untested things that more and more comes out about these vaccines. And now they want to force it into children. It's a shame what's going on in our country. I can't believe it. And we have to stand up and fight for our freedom and protect the children.
All right, so I deviated so much here, so let's get back on track here. The point is, in 2018, they dumped this money in to help out Keith Ellison because they're like, oh, my God, we could actually win this one. In this case, they're playing so much defense. Oh, my God, Tim Walz, our good boy Tim Walz, he might lose this race. Money's got to go flow into Tim Walz. which actually they've been spending tons of money for Tim Walz. So it's amazing that the monetary advantage that Tim Walz has had, and I don't just mean his campaign, I mean the people that were like supportive of Tim Walz, the outside money, over Scott Jensen's amazing. He should be just crushing this thing, and yet he's not, which just shows you what this election is going to be like. And then they're on the cusp of losing the auditor position and maybe the Secretary of State, although that one doesn't look good. Let's go back to that, Dawson. Let's go back to the Alpha News poll. This is the one that doesn't look good for the Republican candidates right now. Steve Simon is ahead of Kim Crockett. Now, that is within the margin of error, so I guess you would report that as neck and neck, but a large amount of undecided people. Now, how do undecideds break for a race that really not a lot of people understand the dynamics of? I don't know.
Right,
What are your thoughts on
and
that?
one thing that I'm thinking is also why maybe Kim Crockett may not be able to win this one is based on all of the media smears, all of the attacks that are going on against her, and that's going to help determine how a lot of these undecideds go out and vote. They're going to be reading the news. They're going to be saying, oh, well, I don't know if I can vote for her, and obviously that's not what I'm thinking, but I'm just saying that's the way that some of these regular voters go out and vote, so I think a lot of these undecideds may end up going towards the DFL, but there's still time to see what happens.
Yeah, it's important to note there's no third parties in either the AG's race or that race.
Right.
So it's like they don't really break one way or the other. Now, Kim Crockett's got a path to victory here, assuming that this polling is correct and there's this large amount of undecided voters. She might just ride this wave of Republican victories, right?
Yep.
Because no one's polling the every House and Senate district race in Minnesota. Really, they don't need to do that. They could just take the ones that are real swing districts. So you get rid of the inner city, which is always going to go Democrat, and get rid of a lot of the rural Minnesota, it's going to go Republican, and they do the swing. But no one's doing that. So you just assume that Republicans are in good shape to win the Senate and the House because the overall Republican ticket's up. And we're going to get into a poll nationally that shows this. So let's go to the last one, which is the auditor's race. Once again, this is like the one that no one really cares about. Auditor, what the hell does an auditor even do? But in this one, we're showing that Ryan Wilson, the Republican, is actually got a 4-point lead, so that's outside the margin of error. There is still a large undecided amount, which probably will go, once again, break for Republicans, or it will go to the third party. And in this case, there's 2 marijuana candidates here. So one would assume that they're actually going to get some of the vote here, or some of the undecided vote. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm on the exact same page. I think that is the GOP's best election. I think that is their best candidate, and I think it's their best election to win. So this is going to be probably a little bit less close than the other ones, but this could also be a very close race, and I'm expecting that Julie Blaha goes down. White Claw Blaha is going to go down this election. And I'm on the same page as you, seeing that these third parties are in there, subtracting the total from some of these Democrats. It sometimes comes out to our benefit.
She might be drowning her sorrows late that night in White Claw, which
I think
we call
so.
night clawing. Yeah, pretty good. Huh? Night
Yep.
clawing. All right. I didn't just make that on the spot. We've used that in some threads against, some political class people that we assume are drinking White Claw a lot.
We have a comment from NMAX, actually. It says, most Republicans and conservatives don't respond to polls because it's wrong thinking now, and you might end up in D.C. Gitmo, which...
I don't know if there's any scientific evidence what he's saying is true, but that has been alleged. But here's interesting. Let's go back to the poll. This poll does oversample Democrats, and so I'm going to jump off of what he's saying. It oversamples Democrats, which is what you would do in Minnesota because there's more Democrats. Next slide below that, Dawson. You can go to Alpha News to read this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go down 2 more slides. Right there. So the Democrats are oversampled by about 5 points. And then, of course, a large independent or no party faction. So this is what you would do. What happens is there's a difference in, 2018 was a Democrat turnout year, right? 2010 was a Republican turnout year. So what I see happening is this being a Republican turnout year. So when you oversample Democrats, it might not actually match what really happens. A lot of Democrats stay at home and don't vote, and more Republicans or new Republicans go out and vote. So where I would say that this poll is maybe on the low end is because they have to oversample. That's the scientific way of doing it, but really more Republicans will end up voting. And so there's maybe something to that. Now let's go back to this poll and let's look at the issues. And this is no shocker. We've been talking about this for a while. Any poll that's been saying other than this, I've always met with skepticism. In fact, even Alpha News's previous poll, which had Jensen neck and neck but down a little bit from Walz, and they did that with Trafalgar Group, they had economy number 2 to crime. But they asked it in a different way this time. They added inflation and the cost of living. So what is the most important issue facing Minnesota? And 32%, so the top amount, said fighting for policies that will help control inflation and the cost of living. Number 2 is reducing crime and ensuring violent criminals stay off the street. Number 3, to the dismay of all Democrats who've gone all in on abortion, ensuring that abortion remains available and accessible in Minnesota. We're going to talk about how a poll has shown what we've been saying on this show for a while now, that the Democrats are actually more extreme on it. But what I'm seeing here, and correct me if you see it differently, Jesse, that 19.8% on abortion, that is your very pro-choice, very let's abort all baby type mentality that just lives and breathes in the Democrat base. And then maybe a faction of pro-life Republican voters that are answering that question. Almost no independents are answering that question in that way. At least in my opinion, they're motivated more by the things that are really affecting their day to day, which is crime and inflation.
Right. Yeah. People are concerned about what affects them and how often are you getting an abortion? Almost never. So, no, it's obvious that the issues that are important to people, the inflation, the crime, the education, those are the things that are really where voters are at. And the Democrats can continue to focus on this abortion thing, but really all they're doing is targeting their niche audience.
Exactly. So when you ask that question, what's your second most important issue? Bring that poll back up. It just inverses. It's crime first and then inflation. Now, the way I read this is there's a lot of people. It really depends on where you live, Jesse. I think if you live in a certain area, well, let me use my area, Lake Elmo, right? Inflation's my biggest issue because really Lake Elmo, we don't have a huge amount of crime, but we're on the cusp of the crime, right? Like you just go to the west of us and you got Oakdale, which is dealing with crime, right? Or even Stillwater just to the north. So we just don't have a lot of crime. I mean, Jesus, what it's Lake Elmo. I mean, I guess we got some insider trading going on there, prosecuting for some white collar crime. Exactly. Yeah. But so inflation is the biggest issue. But number 2, because we still go into the cities, right? So when we leave the burbs, we go into cities and then crime's an issue. So I think that's what's happening here. Whereas I think when you get people like or in the inner city or the suburbs that are losing on crime, that's obviously the biggest issue. But they also see the increase in prices. Do you see it the same way as I do?
Yep, exactly. No, people are picking the issue that affects them most. So in certain cases, there will be crime if they live in the cities. And like you said, it could be the inflation and it could be the economy if they're in a safer area.
Yeah, so the point is they're neck and neck, essentially. I think just overwhelming most people, those issues are so important, right? And I see this anecdotally from people talking at the doors. Now go back to this is really fascinating. What's the second most important issue? Abortion then drops to number 4, education. So ensuring children receive the best possible education jumps up to number 3, which on both sides of the issue, once again, I would say the Republican base is going to, for their second issue, inverse either inflation or crime. But man, that education issue is pretty big on our side too, especially what happened under COVID, especially what happened under Tim Walz. Do we have that graphic of Tim Walz's failure from last time? You don't have that on the fly? Okay. Yeah, why don't you grab that because I want to show that one again too. That was just like 1 minute of putting together the failures of Tim Walz. I mean, we could probably go on. We could have pages and pages of
we could have a whole book, a whole dictionary.
Yeah, it'd have to be chaptered and indexed, right?
Right.
What are the other interesting things about this poll? So, yeah, once again, they oversampled Democrats, which is what you would expect. But in my opinion, that might end up becoming an issue because Republicans turn out in larger numbers in this election. All right.
Yep, there's undoubtedly a red wave, and there's going to be more people to turn out for the Republicans just obviously because they're more motivated and more upset with the Biden administration, the Walz administration. So this is a red wave year, but don't get your hopes up and keep fighting.
You got the image? Just hold off on that image for a second. So the economy, Inflation, number one issue, right? You saw it there. Poll after poll showing this. If you go to MinPost, pull up the MinPost poll real quick. So this one had Jensen losing to Walz. Once again, like Jesse said, it's good to see the ones from the left and the right. Real answer somewhere in the middle. Let's just put it this way. Within the margin of error, that's where this race is. So it really comes down to who turns out. But if you go to the next tab, which shows the issues, they also show that the economy and inflation is the number one issue, right? And then crime coming in second. Or actually, on this one, they're showing crime number 3, abortion number 2, which no one really believes that. I think that's ridiculous. But once again, it's coming from the left, so of course I want to show the abortion issue. So let's look at how the Democrat chair, DFL chair, Ken Martin, is responding to all this polling that shows that the economy is the number one issue. Because he's got something to say. Pull up his tweet. This is so funny to me. We got it? Yep. The idea that we were worse off now than we were under Trump is pure fantasy.
Wow.
Exclamation. We've seen record low unemployment, rising wages for Americans, with low-income households seeing the greatest and strong job growth with the Democrats and Joe Biden at the helm. Oh, that's the 5 out of 5 tweets. I'd love to see the other 4. Like, what? Okay, we know what you're doing because you're a cheerleader, right?
Right, yeah, he's obviously not there to say the truth. He's obviously there to say whatever is going to benefit the Democratic Party. I mean, that everything in there was a complete and total lie. I mean, to pretend like things are better now under Joe Biden and Walz than things were under Trump, I mean, give me a break. Nobody believes that. You have to lie. You have to gaslight to, try and get people to change the reality that they live in. No. People can tell the truth.
Well, that's the job of a party chair. They're the biggest cheerleader. They're propagandists, which is why, back in the day, someone's like, "You should run for chair." I'm like, "I'd be the worst chair ever. I can't tell." The name of this show, what we're eventually turning it into, is about telling the damn truth. It's not, that job's not about telling the truth. It's about propaganda.
Yep.
Both sides, by the way. I'm not saying it's just the Democrats. Mm-hmm. In this case, the Democrats are gaslighting you. What's really fascinating is it's so stupid. No one buys this. Like, what are you talking about? You're speaking to the people in the inner city. How did he put it? Go back to it. Was the working class inner city? How did he phrase it? The working poor? Go back to that tweet. With low income households. He's called it low income households. Oh yeah, they really believe you. Like, low income households, they're the ones that are the most adversely affected by rising costs of goods and services, and they're blaming the Democrats and Joe Biden in particular. So what you can't tell people something that they're seeing with their own eyes and feeling with their pocketbooks. Mm-hmm. You can't say the contrary to it. So these guys are just a joke. It's hilarious, and that's why they're going to lose in this election, and the polls are showing it. Now let's talk about let's go to the Hill poll, the Harvard-Harris poll on thehill.com. Do we have any comments here, Bridget, before we go to the segment?
Patty just says, remember that they weren't Walz failures. They were deliberate and planned. So.
Well, yeah, and the great point. Let's go to that Walz failed graphic real quick. There we go. Yeah, this is Tim Walz's record. Locked us in our homes, shut down schools, businesses, and churches, put COVID patients in nursing homes, mandated all Minnesotans wear masks, allowed thugs to burn down the 3rd precinct, spent our surplus money while prices kept climbing, kept making payments to $250 million fraud scheme, and lied about involvement in fraud. And that's just one page, one graphic of his failures. I mean, good God, we could put it in 6-point font just to fill them all up. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's go to this Harvard-Harris poll, Dawson, on thehill.com. This is showing just GOP generically leads Democrats among likely voters on generic ballot. All right, scroll down a little bit. So it's showing, I think we got a chart somewhere. There you go, perfect. It's showing voter support for Democrats versus Republicans in Congress. Now, this isn't a name. Really what comes down to these individual races for Congress or legislatures in the states, it comes down to an actual individual, how they're marketing themselves. But underlying that is this like momentum, a general electorate momentum or feelings in the mode of the electorate. So go back to that real quick. That is showing right now Republicans, and this is an either or, so 53% are leaning Republican, whereas 47% Democrat. Now, it's not usually like that. It's usually the opposite. This spells real big trouble for the Democrats, don't you think, Jesse?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, because especially when we see The Hill releasing a poll like this, The Hill is a liberal organization, and when we see that they are even admitting that the Republicans are basically going to take back the U.S. House, there's almost no doubt in any pundit's mind that the Republicans are going to take back over the U.S. House. So it doesn't surprise me that the generic Republican is leading the generic Democrat, because look at what the Democrats have to stand on. Look at what their record is. They have nothing good to stand for, so the voters are pretty fed up.
And that's a great point. They have nothing to stand on, and so that's why they just completely went all in on abortion. I think we talked about this in the last program, how we think that they might have peaked too early, because there's definitely momentum by the Democrats this summer following Roe v. Wade, but they spent all this money and they've just stayed on an issue. If you see the Democrat talking points, which most of you have, it's basically all abortion. That's all they care about. And they're going all in on an issue that's ranked number 3 on most polls, which is fascinating. And really, it's probably only playing to their base, because that's the people most motivated by it. So now here's what we've been saying. And on the last podcast, we were critiquing Scott Jensen's performance at the last debate, which, once again, this poll was done. Let's see, the debate was on Tuesday. So this poll was done during, a lot of people could have seen that debate. As we predicted, not a lot of people watched the damn debate. First of all, if you even saw the link online, you missed the first 9 minutes of audio. So we figured that debate really wasn't going to factor in much to people's decision, which, good or bad, neither guy won. It was just an awful debate. But Beck, did you see that link I sent of the debate in Stillwater, 33B race?
Yeah. No, I watched that one as well. And
we need it. We just need to host these damn debates. They're so effing boring. I can't stand them. Like, let's spice this shit up.
Right, and a lot of these moderators are such stiffs. They're that's part of the problem, that they can't allow a real conversation, a real debate to actually unfold. It's just speech. That's not what a debate should be.
They said in that debate, they're like, "There's no rebuttals." Like, there's no rebuttals.
Right.
That's the best part of a debate.
Exactly.
I don't know. We could have a whistle for the moderator. Let things go until it gets out of hand. Maybe throw a flag, blow the whistle. When the whistle blows, this is the one rule of this debate. When the whistle blows, you have to stop.
Right. And the biggest point that these moderators of debates have to realize: you are not the superstar of that debate. It's not on you to have the attention on you. The attention is supposed to be on the candidates. You are there to facilitate the conversation between them. You're not there to interject your own and impose your own beliefs. You're there to have a conversation between the two candidates and allow them to respond to each other. That's the only way that things can be done fairly. And we're seeing all of these people that come in, these moderators, they're liberal. They got an agenda. They want the Democrat to win. So obviously, we have to straighten out these debates. Things should be done fairly. And this is a problem that we see all across our country, and it's happening for a long, long time.
All right, I just had a great idea. All right, Dawson, mark this down. So here's what we do. We do it like football. We'll blow a whistle, and we'll have a yellow penalty flag. So we'll let them go on, but once the whistle's blown, they have got to stop. That means that the skin out of control, they're talking over each other too much. If someone commits a foul at that point, I'm sorry, we blow the whistle. We don't throw the yellow flag. If someone commits a foul and they don't shut up, we then throw the yellow flag, which takes 30 seconds away from their next answer.
Sure.
So they have an incentive not to get that yellow flag. What do you think? You like that? Is that good?
That could work, except, when you have someone like Donald Trump who's not going to obey the rules no matter what.
Well, then he loses his 30 seconds on the next response.
He's going to keep talking no matter what.
Well, then in that case, we need to have a mute button or something over there.
We'll have to work
you
out the kinks of this.
You got to follow those rules.
I'll just turn his mic off.
Just turn his mic off. Exactly. All right, let's go to this next poll. This was done by was it done by National Review? Go to the National Review article, which is another leftist organization. See what I did there, Jesse?
Yep.
Exclusive on abortion. Voters view Democrats as more extreme than Republicans by 2-1. Now, we offered to help Jensen with debate prep next time, because why can't I talk? I'm on a show. I'm supposed to be able to talk. He offered a terrible response on the abortion issue, which luckily most people didn't hear because that 9 minutes of audio was cut off during it. But His response on abortion was terrible. He's just using David Hand's failed talking points. This is what we've been saying for a long time. The extreme view on abortion is not on the right side. That's what the Democrats want you to believe. The extreme view is actually on the left side that thinks that you can kill a baby 7 pounds at full term, 8.5 months into pregnancy. Okay? Mm-hmm. So go to this article, and was this commissioned by National Review? I should have wrote this down. It's exclusively to National Review. So whatever. So the poll shows that 2-1 people find Democrats' view more extreme. It says the Democrats' view is allowing abortions up to 9 months of pregnancy for any reason, as opposed to the Republicans restricting abortions to only in cases of rape, incest, and when the life of the mother is in danger. So when asked those two different, extremes, the respondents find that the extreme of the left, allowing abortion up to 9 months for any reason, is more extreme. And of course they do, because everyone knows that's a human life. And this is what we've been saying also on this program, is the abortion issue, which is a great moral issue of our time. We need to define when life begins. And the only ones willing to have that honest conversation is on the right, the pro-life people, like myself, who says life begins at conception. If you don't agree with life begins at conception, maybe you think it begins at 20 weeks. It's so important that we define when that life begins, because then you can't kill the life, right? But the left doesn't want to do that, which leaves them the ability to kill all the way up to the moment of birth. And in the case of this California bill, if that abortion didn't work, allow that baby to die afterwards.
Yeah, so, one thing that I was thinking when I was watching the Scott Jensen, Tim Walz debate, a piece of advice that I would give Scott Jensen, it is so annoying when I'm a viewer watching this and I see that you're reading scripted, prepared answers for everything. If you're reading off this piece of paper, you're not connecting with the voters. You got to loosen up. You got to give us real answers. Tell us what you are actually thinking. Don't read the prepared statements that your campaign tells you to. That's not the way that you win a debate, because we can tell that you're reading. We can tell that you were giving all of these talking points. That's not how you win.
Yeah, and I still say, and Walz obviously did the same thing, so we're just trying to say be better than Walz.
Right, exactly.
In the end, Walz lost the debate because Walz made the more ludicrous statements, especially the one that we played here on this show, that he has made a whole career of standing for women's decisions in their own health care. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You have a vaccine mandate. That's ridiculous. Do you have a comment there, Bridget?
No, actually right now, but Brad has been commenting, so we should probably bring Brad Genzer.
Well, we have to hear what Brad has to say.
Yeah, Brad said it's true. He just said it's important that we stay on message because the big money from the left is going to be deployed starting in the next few days. So.
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be actually a lot of money coming from the right, too. The right actually puts money in late in the game, where the left has been blowing it early. But still a fair point by Brad Genzer, a fan of the show. We're a fan of his, too, by the way. Love Brad Genzer. Let's go to Jesse, because Jesse didn't get to be a part of our show last week. Last week. God, so 1 week. This is Wednesday.
Yep.
Oh, my God. So I'm going to turn the show over to you, Jesse. What do you got?
Well, one big thing that we kind of hinted at it before, and something that has been on the minds of a lot of Minnesota voters has been the potential election fraud that has happened within Itasca County. This is something going on within Senate District 7. The Republican nominee is Rob Farnsworth, and then the Democrats had a very close primary between Ben DiNucci and Kim McLaughlin. Ben DiNucci out of Nashwauk and Kim McLaughlin out of Hibbing. And this race was ultimately decided by 41 votes. And the Minnesota statutes say that any race that is within 0.5% deserves a state-ordered recount, a state-funded, taxpayer-funded recount of the votes. In this case, that would have been 40 votes. But how much did Ben DiNucci win by Kim McLaughlin? By 41 votes. So that means that if one vote would have been shifted towards McLaughlin, that this entire race would have required a state-funded recount. Kim McLaughlin, she decided to try to pursue that. Unfortunately, the process is so expensive. It costs almost $18,000 as a candidate if you want to pay for a recount. Obviously, this is something that her campaign couldn't do, and what she has now done instead is run a write-in campaign. There's other allegations that have went on based on what happened in Keewatin. So the Keewatin polling location, on the primary election date, there were several different poll workers and election judges that were there, 3 of which were related. And this is against The Minnesota laws, the statutes argue that family members cannot be poll workers together, that they cannot be election judges together. Unfortunately, this is what happened. A lot of these things have been released, and the biggest thing that has gone on within the Ben DiNucci campaign, the biggest scandal that has blown up online, is that one of his staffers, one of his campaign volunteers, went to a house, reached inside the mailbox. This is door knocking 101, something that you never do. She reaches inside this person's mailbox. She steals Republican literature that has later been identified as Pete Stauber literature, puts it in her bag, and keeps on walking. And the crazy part about this is it was all on camera.
We got that video.
All on camera. So sure, let's pull that up.
The video was actually done by the Hibbing Police Department. It's been taken down. Luckily, we did a screen grab of this thing. Do you got that video queued up there, Dawson? Let's go ahead and look at this. And she's going to put lit in a mailbox, which you can't do either.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, let's get a goodie out of there, too. That is the equivalent of stealing kids' candy. It's like me giving by the way, don't let me forget about the Halloween party, okay? Don't let me forget that. She's basically the equivalent of, I'll give you a Tootsie Roll, and then reaching in and grabbing a couple Skittles and Snickers, a good stuff.
Yeah.
Out there, right?
Yep, exactly. No, I mean,
I'm just kidding. It's actually illegal. You can't do that. It's not the equivalent of it. You can't do what she's doing, so it's actually breaking law. And that's why Hibbing Police reached out. But they've taken this down, which is fascinating, because apparently DiNucci said that they know who it is, right?
Right, yep. So DiNucci first said that he was going to help the Hibbing Police Department identify this person. Later on, the Hibbing Police Department says that they've been identified, so obviously Ben DiNucci knows who this was, and I don't think that any charges are going to be pressed on behalf of the Farnsworth or Stauber people, but the Hibbing Police Department is looking into it, and this girl just made a huge mistake, and it's hurting Ben DiNucci's campaign big time, and especially when we have all of these other allegations of what's going on. Dawson, go ahead and pull up the results of this election just so people can see how close it was.
You missed over the little rumor out there right now, the speculation of who this woman was.
Right, yep. Well, there was speculation that this was Ben DiNucci's wife. There was nobody out there that could confirm it based on how the video was a little blurry and you couldn't completely get a clear shot of the face, but there were people out there that were suggesting that, is this Ben DiNucci's wife? And
it's like a brunette, skinny brunette with the same kind of glasses that you could see from that video, and it's very hard to tell. But what DiNucci says is that it's some woman from outside the district that hasn't gone through our training.
Yep.
So if it's his wife, this guy is just a liar like all of them, right? But
right.
It'd be really fascinating if that was the case. I don't know if anyone will be able to crack that one.
Yep. No, I don't know if we'll be able to ever get to the bottom of it, but I certainly hope we do, because I think that this person has to be identified. We have to know the truth. We have to know what's going on.
Well, if the Hibbing police know who it is, eventually the person's going to be identified.
Right.
But I'm assuming that's going to be after, well, geez, they got clear video evidence, and they would have to file charges. This would be known rather. Boy, you better stay on that.
Right, yeah.
That'd be really interesting scandal.
It would be interesting to see if they release that information before the election day.
If the police department sat on it until after election day, that'd be ridiculous.
Right.
So at this point, you would imagine, because filed charges are public information. So
right.
It'd be really interesting to see. That would be really fascinating. I have no idea.
Right. I don't know either, and it would be a dereliction of duty for the Hibbing Police Department to wait until after the election, because obviously that would show that they have some sort of political implications of what's going on. But
yeah, we'd call them the Hibbing FBI, right?
Right. But sure, go ahead and pull up the results there, Dawson, just so people can see how close this race was. And as you can see, it was decided by 41 votes in that Democratic primary between Kim McLaughlin and Ben DiNucci. And go ahead and click the full results there, Dawson, so people can see by precinct. Keewatin, let's start with Keewatin. So Keewatin was a polling location that, as I mentioned, there were questions about the election judges who were there. And as you can see, the extreme margin...
Where is Keewatin on this page? Scroll down a little bit more. You're throwing this at Dawson on the fly. Oh, we'll go back up. Is Keewatin Township right there?
K-E-E. Yep.
Oh, right there. Keewatin. There you go. It's mid-screen there. 77 to 15. What's that? We can't see the large margin on our TV. I don't know if they're...
Right. I can't remember what exactly the results was there. It was something like the far right result.
What's on the far right?
Is the DiNucci results.
Okay. Yeah, we got to work on our screen, by the way, Dawson. It's cutting off the right side for us to look at.
Yeah, well, regardless, Keewatin and Nashwauk.
This is where they were breaking the law in terms of family being part of election judges.
Right, yep, so that was in Keewatin, and then if you look at the results, don't hold me to this, but it was something crazy margin of victory where Kim McLaughlin only got about 15 votes. Ben DiNucci gets over 100, and the same thing happens in Nashwauk too. And there's a lot of people out in Nashwauk and Keewatin in Itasca County that have some bad blood for Ben DiNucci. And people are saying, not all of these people are going out there and voting Republican. A lot of these people would show up just to oppose Ben DiNucci in a Democratic primary, just to vote him out. So by seeing how the number of votes that were in his favor, and another big question about Keewatin.
Just to FYI, this is where Jesse's from. It's like his family's neck of the woods.
Yep.
Literally neck of the woods.
Uh-huh.
Yep,
nice. We're out there, up north. And there was 257 votes that were cast, according to the Keewatin precinct, and one of those votes apparently was not counted. 556 votes were counted. Of the 557, we don't know why. No explanation has been provided. I would hope that Keewatin can tell us exactly what happened there, and especially when we're looking at how this race would have had a state-funded recount if it was only by one vote. So when it's only by one vote, every single vote makes a difference. And maybe even if we would have seen a recount, maybe no election fraud would have been uncovered, and maybe DiNucci would have won, but we need to have that assurance that our elections are run fairly, because when we have questions
well, they
over
weren't run fairly if they're breaking the law on the election judge thing.
Right.
And then did you cover the fact that this thing started late? Like they didn't open the polls at 8 a.m., which is...
Right. Yep, I didn't mention that yet. Yep, they didn't open the polls when every other poll location in our state was opening up. They decided to open it up nearly 2 hours after every other poll was open, and there's legal question of whether they can do that or not based on the size of the precinct and whatnot. But it's still uncommon, and I don't know why, especially in a small precinct like that where people wouldn't be able to come and vote. When you read articles and things that are going on from the evidence of the lawsuits that have gone on since this, there were people who tried to vote. There were people who tried to go up and vote early in the morning, and they were locked out. How can you be locked out from voting on Election Day?
Wait, do you know that actually happened then?
That is what was laid out as... within the
like there's testimony in her case,
right? In the lawsuit. So go ahead and pull up that other article there, Dawson, that mentions what happened in this lawsuit that was filed against Itasca County, Ben DiNucci, the Keewatin election judges and whatnot. So a Hibbing woman who obviously we've come to find out through some research she is connected to the McLaughlin campaign. She's a friend of her, a supporter of hers. She was obviously behind her in the primary. She decided to file this lawsuit like many other citizens have done across our state when they have election fraud questions, claiming that she wanted to have a recount investigation into this. Lots of allegations laid out within there. It mentions the names of the election judges who were related to each other that worked in Keewatin. And Keewatin also, I should mention, is right next door to Nashwauk, which is where Ben DiNucci is from. He's very connected within that area. He knows everybody. Everybody knows him. And so that just goes to show that, there's reason to question it. And it's not surprising that he got a lot of votes. I mean, that's just what's going to happen when you're the hometown boy. But the margin is very questionable. And this lawsuit has since been dropped. She decided not to continue the lawsuit, maybe because they didn't think they had enough evidence. Maybe they didn't think they would win. But Kim McLaughlin is so upset by this. She isn't really talking about it publicly. But from what I can gather, she is upset with this. She is willing to throw this election for the Republicans. She is running as an independent. She's obviously a Democrat. She's probably even more of a Democrat, more progressive than Ben DiNucci. And so she is running as an independent write-in campaign. Kim McLaughlin from Hibbing. And in the Iron Range, because this is David Tomasoni's old state Senate seat, this is a race that has typically gone Democrat, but the Iron Range isn't necessarily your typical Democrat. It's the union guys. It's the guys working in the mines that are the Democrats. So these people aren't exactly the most progressive people in the world, and it's just very interesting to see what's going on. Kim McLaughlin may be able to pull off enough of a percent away from the DiNucci supporters to allow Rob Farnsworth to win. This is Rob Farnsworth, third time running, 2 times for the state house and now for the state senate. third time may be the charm just because Kim McLaughlin is willing to throw the election.
Gun to your head, Jesse. What do you think? Was there fraud?
I think there's definitely questions that need to be asked. We need an investigation. We need people to be digging into this. When I see that it's only one vote that would have stopped a recount, and 257 votes were cast and 256 votes were counted, I need an investigation.
I pulled the trigger by now. Gun to your head. Was there fraud? Jeez, come on.
Obviously, there was some fraud.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely, there was fraud.
That's all we wanted.
No, there's no doubt.
That's speculation. YouTube, don't take down this video. We don't know yet. We just speculated.
Right, we just know that there's
I forced it.
Things going on.
Now they're going to be like, you violate our community standards for violence.
Well, I didn't talk about the 2020 election, YouTube, okay?
Actually, you know what? If I put a gun to your head with a MAGA hat, I'd probably get promoted on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, they would shoot that up in the ratings.
We should do a segment called "Gun to Your Head" and have this big cardboard gun, but always make sure the person's wearing a MAGA hat so we don't get taken down.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
Do we have any Fetterman updates?
Yeah,
we don't have our Fetterman hoodies on.
Yep. So, guys, feel free to keep looking into that Itasca stuff and keep sending us information because we're digging into it and it's a lot of important information that we want to know about.
Yeah.
So, John Fetterman, we can't get over John Fetterman.
For
what's going on in Pennsylvania?
Are new to the show or haven't followed it? This is this bozo who's running for U.S. Senate against Dr. Oz, who I guess Jesse's no big fan of Dr. Oz either. Trump is. Trump endorsed Dr. Oz.
Yep,
but
even
this
in the primary.
guy, when we originally saw this on the show, because William and Jesse have no life when they go home at night, so they watch Pennsylvania debates. I, who have a thriving, awesome life, and same with Bridget, we don't know this stuff. So he shows me this guy called John Fetterman, who's 6'10", 385 pounds. I don't know. I'm making this up, but he's a big, tall dude with a bald head, and literally only wears black hoodies. That's all we can see on this campaign, wearing black hoodies. And this guy, he looks like he's straight out of the mines, right? He looks like a down-to-earth guy, but he's Harvard educated, comes from a wealthy family, still lives with his parents or something like that.
Yeah, lived with his parents for a very, very long time. And, his parents are the ones with the money and the reason he's been able to elevate himself to where he is now. And so go ahead and pull up that tweet that I had sent you. First, we'll start with that, of the Fetterman-Oz polling.
Oh, you're putting Jesse. Did you send him a tweet?
Yes, it
Dawson's
was just a picture.
I don't know if I have it.
Just pull up any John Fetterman thing. We'll run with
I
it.
sent you an image of Fetterman on the tarmac with Biden, just to show. Yeah, pull up that. This big doofus. Look at that. It just doesn't get any better than that. What is he doing?
Oh, I know. And to have Joe Biden, of all people, to come out and campaign for you in Pennsylvania, a guy who can't even speak just like you. Yeah. I can't believe that we got Dumb and Dumber sitting right there. And they're both coming out
someone's created that image Dumb and Dumber.
And, what gives John Fetterman the idea that bringing Joe Biden out to a very swing election is going to help you? If I was John Fetterman, I'd be running away from Joe Biden. I'd be running away from the Democratic Party platform, and I'd be doing my own thing. But he's obviously an idiot. He's bringing in Joe Biden.
Tim Walz and Peggy Flanagan, who's Indian, in case you didn't know, they're going to have Kamala Harris in town tomorrow for a fundraising event. So, they're not learning lessons. Geez, Joe Biden's approval rating's low. Look at Kamala Harris.
I know.
That's really bad. So they're bringing her. Now, that's not a public event. That's for I think that's just for a private fundraising event.
Oh, I'm sure. Kamala, she can't be out in the public. There's nobody that likes her. The only people that are going to be there that like her are the ones that are willing to shell out the money. So, of course, she's going to be doing some private dinner. Those are the only people that want to talk to her anyway. So that is amazing, though, that they would think to bring out Kamala Harris in Minnesota, not someone who we like.
You got the tweet? Go bring it up then.
All right, so this is very interesting. So for the very first time, getting back into the polls here, Dr. Oz is now tied with John Fetterman. This is the first poll of Pennsylvania that has shown that Dr. Oz and John Fetterman are in a perfect tie.
Give us context. What was generically the lead?
So generically, typically what was going on, we were seeing John Fetterman up by 5, 6, 7 points. And now Dr. Oz has made it a complete deadlock, which obviously probably goes to show us that Oz is probably in the lead. And what we've also seen in Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano, who's lot more hardcore, one of our kind of guys, and he's running for the governor out in Pennsylvania, and even the polls are starting to show that he just got a 7-point uptick as well. He's still down in the polls, but it's showing that the momentum in Pennsylvania is shifting big time for the Republicans, and seeing how well Oz is starting to perform in these polls, it may show that Oz, if he wins, could also allow Doug Mastriano to win and carry the ticket. So Dr. Oz may end up doing something amazing for Pennsylvania and allow a governor who's going to actually stand up for freedom. And Doug Mastriano, that guy is awesome. He is a badass, and I'd be very happy to see him win the election. And it's going to be close there, but based on how the polls are starting to show that Oz is performing well, that means good things for the Republicans, and it means bad things for Fetterman. So Fetterman bringing out Joe Biden, that's not a good response to having yourself going down in the polls.
All right, Jesse, gun to your MAGA hat. Who wins, Oz or Fetterman?
I said Fetterman before. I'm starting to think Oz.
Oh, we got a shift in polling inside his head.
And
you know what? We kind of want Fetterman to win just for all the material we'll get over the next
right.
6 years. But he's still lieutenant. Well, no, he wouldn't be lieutenant governor anymore. So, yeah, God, we're so torn on this one. Control over the Senate or John Fetterman material? What are we going to do here? I don't know.
Yep, I know. It's a close call. What do we want more? And I think I might
some
have,
Action for Liberty haters are going to be like, see, they're just Democrats. They want Fetterman to win.
Oz is the Democrat. Well, there's also one other. Didn't I send you one other thing, Dawson, on Fetterman? Yes. Oh, right. Yep, that's it. So John Fetterman is now covering up his record. He's trying to hide. And this is something reported by CNN. I was amazed to see that CNN was doing a critical story on John Fetterman because he said that nowadays, he says he always supported fracking. When all these videos come out, all of these things from his past where he was always against fracking. He was always trying to stop fracking. He was always saying that we need to move over from fracking. We need to move from oil to renewable energy. I'm not buying it. I'm not down with that.
Of course not. This is the same thing that happened to Biden in the 2020 election. Go back to my tweet on the tarmac, or the photo on the tarmac real quick. Oh, I totally missed this. He's not wearing the hoodie in that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So he not only does he like bringing Biden to town, he dresses up for Biden.
Mm.
Maybe that's why he looks like such a doofus there. Because now go back to that last one, the article. This is how we know Fetterman. Whatever you had. See, that's how we know Fetterman. I don't know if he washes that. Maybe mom washes it once a week for him. I have no idea.
I bet he's got a bunch of those hoodies. I bet he just throws on a new one every day.
Yeah, but he looks like the kind of guy that would wear the same one for a week, doesn't he?
Maybe, yeah.
This is what really bugs me about this guy is he looks like something he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He does not look like a far lefty. He does not look like a guy that was Harvard educated. I mean, it's just a fraud. Like most politicians. All right, we got to wrap the show up. Anything else? Did you want to talk about Ye?
Not the Kanye thing, even though people should look at that stuff on their own. But there was one more thing I wanted to show. Joe Biden also, it's not just Pennsylvania that he's showing up to. Apparently, he also decided to show up in Oregon for the radical leftist lesbian Tina Kotek. That lady, she is probably the worst person who could ever be leading Oregon. Go ahead and pull up what Joe Biden was doing in Oregon. I think people will.
I love how you're pronouncing it. Do you have family in Oregon?
Nope, not that I know of, at least.
Who do I know that's got family in? Oh yeah, it's Dawson. Duh. All right, yeah, there you go, Dawson. Just pay attention, Dawson.
Yep.
I don't have volume. Do we need volume here? No. There's no volume. He's still sniffing. I didn't know that he's sniffing these days. He attempts
Here
to
we
sniffing
go,
at
and
Baskin Robbins.
there's the sniff.
Oh my God, he's still sniffing.
All right.
Go back to that real quick. I thought he was done sniffing.
He's not done sniffing. That's what he does.
Well, I know. I know why we haven't seen him sniff so much, because of the mask.
Right.
But you can still sniff through a mask. Oh my God, look at that. Like what?
And of course,
what do you even say about that? That's so freaking bizarre.
And it's in a Baskin Robbins, an ice cream parlor of all places. You know, Joe Biden.
Why does that matter?
Because Joe Biden's always eating that ice cream. He gets
right.
He's
Well, he's getting a treat.
He's got that brain freeze
his puppet masters they get.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have the required equipment for a brain freeze. Listen. he is getting rewarded for his good behavior by his puppet master. I mean, like anyone that thinks Biden's calling the shots is ridiculous. So that's what the ice cream is. He's just been rewarded for good behavior.
Yep, exactly. And so
but
he was
the sniffing is so. Dawson, did you know about the sniffing thing before working here?
I have seen memes.
Do you know? I don't think your mic's on. Do you not have a mic handy?
I have seen memes about it, and it's pretty cursed that's the person who is president right now.
Oh, yeah. Why did I not even consider the fact that your generation, well, geez, your generation, my generation too, lives by memes, right? Half the time I find out about news from a damn meme, which is great. I love the internet and all the gifts it gives. So, that is just, I don't even know what to say about it at this point. Like, it's so bizarre.
And he can't stop. I mean, he just keeps doing it. Like, and I know that the big time where there's video after video after video of it is when he's swearing in these senators. Each senator comes up, and he's got to rub the shoulders of the children. He's sniffing the hair. Yep. Joe Biden is a creepy dude. Creepy. And
oh, my God. I totally forgot. We have video because we didn't have Jesse here since the Tulsi Gabbard event.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
All right, we're going to extended period.
Well, one last thing I want to say on the Oregon thing. I've been following the Oregon governor race very closely. I know that William Beck has too. It's a disappointment that he couldn't be here today because I was about to slam him. I was about to tell him exactly how he was wrong. He's, there's an independent running in this race for governor, Betsy Johnson. MAGA Jesse, give her my total and complete endorsement. I'm sick of the politics as usual. They got a rhino running there. They got this radical leftist who wants to...
I'm sorry. I totally missed what you just said. I was trying to cue up the story. Who did you just endorse?
There's an independent for governor out in Oregon, Betsy Johnson. She's she's about 300 pounds. She's got glasses that cover half her face. She is my kind of lady. I love her.
Are you fat shaming there? So
no, I'm about it. I'm saying I like it.
Oh, yeah, but why bring her weight into it? You don't bring a woman's weight into it. Jeez.
In this case, you do. It's okay. A way that she's recognizable.
All right, Dawson. Did we put in that thread when Jesse asked the question to Tulsi Gabbard?
I cannot recall.
I'm gonna find this. But
I can send it to Dawson as well.
Send it to Dawson. Well, hold on. No, I don't want you to send it because I want to tell you this breaking news.
Okay.
Just from True Social.
Oh, okay.
Breaking. Steve Bannon sentenced to 4 months in prison for contempt of Congress.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Here we go. We got breaking news. Let's see how he reacts.
Yeah,
Get the camera off of me. Thank you.
Oh, oh man. I don't like that. But, and obviously, I don't know exactly. Steve Bannon's a slick guy. He can get his way out of a lot of trouble. He knows he's a very, very smart guy. So hopefully he can weasel his way out of this one. But, they're coming after everyone.
Well, how's he going to weasel himself out? It's 4 months.
Right. I don't know.
He's been sentenced already.
The man's got attorneys, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, Steve Bannon's someone who was villainized by everybody. He wanted to be made out to – everyone was making him out to be the puppet master of Donald Trump, which is obviously such a joke. The only person running Trump is Trump. And they wanted to make it seem like Bannon was the one pulling all the strings, and Bannon is a very smart guy. He knows how to get things done. He knows how to check off the list and make sure things are going the proper way. And, he's definitely bold. He's not afraid to stand up for what he believes in, and that's exactly why they want us gone. He's willing to say the truth.
Well, there you go. That's his real live reaction to the breaking news story. Now, find that thing because I couldn't find it.
Alrighty.
I want to go to extended period. I tried to do it under an hour because Dale just doesn't like these long shows. But too bad, Dale. If you're watching, you're going to get a longer show. Because there was an event, speaking of Dale, who had a table at Center American Experiment. Why do you keep doing the double view there?
I do not know why.
You're not doing what are you doing to me, Dawson? People love me so much they want two images. Why are you laughing, Bridget?
So it looks pretty funny.
Okay.
And I'm watching it right now.
I don't know. I think that's like a comment on my looks there. It looks funny. That's why I look funny to you. What do you mean by funny? There was an event, Center American Experiment at Tulsi Gabbard, who I think if we haven't discussed, maybe we'll save that for William. Like, is she a fraud? What is she? Like, 'cause it's really interesting. She's getting all this momentum now by the Republicans who always love a traitor to the Democrats, so that's maybe all it is. She's definitely not a conservative. But you had a chance to ask her a question, Jesse, which I really wanted to play live. You're going to probably have to send it to Dawson via email. Did you find it?
Yep.
Okay.
Somebody commented that Bannon's lawyers are already appealing the ruling, and he ended his show live today.
But can you... What about the live?
I don't think they just said he ended his show live today.
He ended his show live?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm just reading the comment.
Like he wasn't live, and then I don't. Whoever said that, please give us some context around it. Yeah, I don't know. Can you appeal?
Does ending a show mean like ending its run?
Oh, maybe.
That's how I read it.
Well, yeah, if he's going away for months, see, I don't know how
Yeah.
you appeal a sentencing, right? Like at this point, I mean, I'm obviously not a legal expert. The guy's going to jail. Like even if you can appeal a sentencing, you're still going to jail. They're gonna cuff you now. Like you're gone. So the guy's gonna serve time in prison, which kind of sucks for him, right? Did you send it to Dawson?
I'm having a tough time right now. My phone.
Oh, the people want. All right, we're gonna have to play this video in the future. Make it exclusive. Not a bad idea. All right, you asked a question. What was your question, Tulsi Gabbard?
Right. So my question to Tulsi Gabbard was, I pointed out that I supported her in 2020 for her presidential primary campaign, and then I pointed out
All
that
right, before people think you're like some leftist that's infiltrated Action for Liberty.
yeah.
What you're trying to say is
I looked at the options for the Democrats. I already knew that Trump was going to win the Republican primary, and I was very happy with that. So I looked at the Democratic primary. I saw Joe Biden, I saw Bernie Sanders, and I saw someone who was anti-war. So I decided to go for Tulsi Gabbard.
yeah, the rational way to go about the Democrat. That's the problem with the Democrats is they had a candidate, Tulsi Gabbard, and probably for its credit, what was the other guy, Andrew Yang, who aren't as crazy progressive or political class freaks like Biden and Kamala. So they had a rational, more sane individual they could have done, and those guys made no momentum. So that's what you did. You voted for her. You told her that.
Yep. And then I said the reason that conservatives are still skeptical of her and of her move to becoming an independent is because she endorsed Joe Biden in 2020 in the Democratic primary. And I know the real reason for this. She decided to give an answer that walked around.
Well, what was her answer?
She said, the Joe Biden I know now is not the Joe Biden I knew then.
That's why
we all knew.
I responded in that thread. I'm like, see, I think that's why I think she's kind of a fraud, because it's like, who didn't know Joe Biden was Joe Biden? The guy was vice president for 8 years. He's been in D.C. for, 47 years?
Right.
You're saying this isn't the guy that you thought. We knew who he was. He's a Washington insider. And, of course, we knew also he's just going to go more left because that's where the base is going. And we also know he's a sniffer in chief.
Yep.
You didn't know that this guy's got this really strange, what do you even call it? Like, fascination? Like,
right.
I'm trying to be nice,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it affection.
And that's
Dawson.
the thing.
That's
this
really nice. I was going deeper on
right.
that.
This isn't new. Joe Biden's been sniffing for a long time. Tulsi Gabbard, hey, guess what? He was sniffing in 2008. He was sniffing in 2012. He was
He's
sniffing
probably
in the
sniffed
primary.
you, Tulsi.
Yep.
You've probably been a victim of the
She's
the Biden
probably been
sniff.
sniffed. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You know,
But-
some people thought that Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris because her hair smelled the best. So Joe Biden went around to these 3 different black ladies he was considering for, naming the vice president, giving it a big whiff, and Kamala Harris came out on top. Obviously, she
That
doesn't have
literally
any
probably
other
happened.
qualifications. So
What do you got, Dawson? Oh, we're not gonna. We'll play it at a different time.
Yeah, I couldn't get it to send over an email, so we
Well,
can
he
we
said
can
you
show
could
it
text
over
it
another
to him.
time. Yeah,
No, I said, why did you text it?
because I couldn't send it over an
Oh.
email.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just not gonna happen. Now you broke his. He was going somewhere with that sniffing. That's got to be breaking some kind of employment law, though. If you brought people in for an interview and you sniffed them.
Maybe. Joe Biden gets away with it, though. Obviously, he was allowed to, get inaugurated and everything, even though we know all of this stuff about him. So Tulsi Gabbard, she was, playing cover, saying She didn't know exactly what we were getting ourselves into, and that Joe Biden was going to listen to his better angels, that he was going to, be a more moderate person, that he was going to revitalize the American dream. And nobody ever believed that. And I know the real reason that Tulsi decided to endorse Biden. 2 reasons. Number one, she thought she had an in. She thought that she was going to be in the Biden administration. And big surprise, you're not there. So she got duped. Tulsi got duped. She thought she had an in with Biden, and she didn't. And not only that, Tulsi Gabbard, she got Russiagated. And while she's being Russiagated, who's going after her? Joe Biden. Joe Biden and the other people on his team, they're all going after her. Now she's acting surprised when they want nothing to do with her. She had it coming. And also, what she decided to do was endorse Biden over Bernie. And lots of people were questioning that. Why is Tulsi doing this? Why is she endorsing Biden over Bernie? She decided to screw over Bernie. That was the real reason that Tulsi decided to do this. She was upset with Bernie. She felt like he didn't have her back, and so she decided to screw him over. And there's a lot of history between those two. She was the former Democratic vice chair, just like Keith Ellison, as I mentioned earlier. And when she was doing that position, it was during the primary between Hillary and Bernie. She decided to cut herself from the position so that she could endorse Bernie and help him because Hillary was being caught rigging the election with the DNC. So Tulsi Gabbard, she is a grifter, in my opinion. I think that she's someone who just goes around to, well, who's going to like me now? And she's shifting her opinion on everything.
So she's a politician.
Right, exactly. You go back.
Like you just described a politician. Who's going to like me now? It's a popularity contest.
Oh, yeah. And if you go back to when she was first getting in the U.S. House of Representatives, and even in her work before that, she was a progressive. She was a liberal. Now what is she? She's someone that goes on Fox News and talks with Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, pretending like she's a conservative to try to dupe us. In my opinion, she's going to be trying to primary Trump in 2024 in the Republican Party. I'm not falling for it. I can already tell that she's a grifter. She's moving to where she thinks she belongs now, and we have to reject her, just like the Democrats did. We have to reject these people.
I was kind of wondering, why is he going so hard against Tulsi Gabbard? And then it just revealed itself. He views her as a threat to Donald Trump.
Well, she's not a threat. She's just a
but
you
just that's how you played it out.
Yeah.
By the way, we'll gladly host those debates: Tulsi Gabbard versus Donald Trump and DeSantis.
Sure.
There you go. We'll have a panel. We'll do the whistle, and throw a yellow flag, which makes you lose 30 seconds of your next response.
Yeah, maybe we can post the video of this up on our YouTube.
With Donald Trump on the debate stage, it doesn't care what the rules are. He already makes them interesting. That's the best thing about Donald Trump's time in politics is the best debates ever.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any sniffing comments there, Bridget, before we sign off?
Yeah, actually, Brad did say Biden sniffing is just plain creepy. And he said good investigative
well, Brad
work for
was
Jesse.
a victim of sniffing. Tell that story, Brad.
Yeah, thank you, Brad.
I just totally made that up.
I was like, what's the story?
No, that'd be great if there was a story there.
But Brad says Tulsi wants a Fox News show. That's her angle.
Of course.
And just a shout out, we have a couple Rocks and Cows people out watching our show.
How dare they?
Sitting in the deer blind. And I think we had someone
It's in
from
the
Little
deer
Falls.
blind.
There we go.
Yeah.
Jeez, some archery hunters, good people.
But
my types. That's it.
We have someone that.
Oh, that's what someone. When I said comment where you're watching from, they said the deer blind.
Yeah.
I love it.
Someone in the deer blind.
You guys rock. And it was more than one person.
Yeah, Joe
Are they in the same deer blind?
Ooh, maybe, I don't know.
Who is it?
No, we have an Enos in the deer blind, and then we have Joe Geezer chimed in later that he's in Rocks and Cows as well.
Only one person said the deer blind.
Yeah.
Thought we were onto something there.
No.
Thought there might be some sniffing.
We do have another comment, which I'm not sure what they're referring to, but it says, when BLM burned down our cities, Tim Walz failed to lift a finger for 3 days. He is the reason their violent rampage spread like a cancer across the world.
What was the first statement there?
When BLM burned down our cities, Tim Walz failed to do anything.
Why am
BLM, Black Lives Matter.
BLM. For some reason
Sorry.
when you were saying that, I was hearing it like it was one word. Yeah. Well, that is the...
Or the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, as you guys, your family in Idaho would call them, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't have any other BLM out there.
That's true. All right. We'll be back next Tuesday. I'm actually really, really excited about this. Tuesday, we have Command Sergeant Major retired Barons talking about how Tim Walz was derelict in his duty, abandoned the troops on a deployment back in 2005. This is the kind of guy that wants another term in office, the guy that abandoned his troops. both him and I will discuss this. Both guys that are Iraq War veterans will get into what Tim Walz did in 2005 and why this guy's not fit for the job. At this point, it's election season, so we might do multiple shows. It all depends on what comes out, what the news stories are, new polls, all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.